Hello and welcome to the Golden State. It's the 2017 PBA50 Northern California Classic presented by Motiv. Good evening and welcome to Brentwood, California. Van McNeil alongside PBA50 Tour member, 7-time regional winner, Mr. Tom Carter. How
Thanks
you doing,
for having
Tom?
me. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here as well. I'm a little disappointed as well too because you're in the booth. Doesn't mean you made the cut. You were out here battling with these guys.
I got to check. I'm tickled to death about that, but I'm not out there, so I get to be here, which is okay.
An impressive field of our 5 Stepladder finalists in Ron Mohr, Chris Warren, Amleto Monacelli, Brian Kretzer, and Hugh Miller, who had some huge games to get here.
It was a strike fest today watching him.
Absolutely.
Ron Mohr gets a guardian angel to get in, and bowling actually a red-hot Chris Warren, and we go right up the ladder, with Brian Kretzer. Unbelievable day, but the top of the shelf with Hugh Miller shooting back-to-back 300s. Oh, my God, this guy's on fire.
Unbelievable. A few 300 games here at Harvest Park Bowl in Brentwood, California. We obviously had Hugh Miller, Walter Ray with a 300 game, and Mr. Cooper, Brian Cooper with the 300. So some big scores out here.
There were some big scores. The pattern is conducive to big scores as long as you kept in the tube. And for the guys that didn't stay in the tube, well, they bowled. One
of those guys that was the top of the leaderboard all throughout the way is our buddy Amleto Monacelli.
I crossed with him. I get the privilege every week seem to crossing with the guys that make it on the show. I should learn something from that, but I haven't yet. But anyway, Amleto it was amazing to watch him because he had a reaction that nobody else had. He was inside of everybody. He could get the ball to the spot and make it turn over and just roll up through the pins. It was fun to watch. I just couldn't get it to happen myself.
Fun to watch. Chris Warren as well. You were talking about him earlier.
Right.
Big game in the position round of modified match play round 2.
It's so fun watching Chris. He's so tiny. He just winds that thing up and just uncorks it, just lets it go. It's amazing to watch.
So we will see Ron Mohr and Chris Mohr in our opening match.
2 totally different styles.
Right.
Oh,
PBA 60 player
Ron
of
Mohr's
the year. Yeah.
Tickled to death to be here, but he's made a lot of shows. Unfortunately, he just hasn't been able to get over the hump. He's a lot of seconds. And today's going to be the day, maybe.
And as we get going here, Tom, with our opening match, tournament director John Weber talking to a pretty packed house here at Harvest Park Bowl.
Jim Wagaman does such a fine job with the tour. It's like 20 years that we've been here all together, and they treat us like gold in this place.
Yeah, it's a beautiful house.
And Jim done a complete remodel. He got new masking units, new set tees, and unfortunately, maybe new lanes next week.
Yeah, we've been talking about that all week here on Xtra Frame. 2 different types of surfaces. 15 feet out, and then the remaining.
It's a little bit tough for some of the guys. So we're so used to seeing the markers down lane and having something to target, and it just so blends in down lane. You can use the reflection of the pins, but it's not quite the same as having the markers down lane.
We were talking with Michael Hoggan Jr., saying he was having some issues with the 2 different types of surfaces, that front part of the lane reading early during qualification.
Well, the lanes are 23 years old, and this place has got a ton of lineage. And that wear on the lanes, just, the topography just makes them rough in the front.
Chris Warren in his opening shot. And
he's going to be doing something different than everybody else because he's got a higher rev rate. He's going to be inside of everybody else, trying to get it to that spot around 8 down lane. And look at that. It looks like he's throwing a phase, and that's not what he threw all week. I mean, he threw a snap lock, he threw a no-rules pearl, and he threw a daredevil trick to get here.
A few of the professionals were talking about making some adjustments that they didn't know that they were going to have to make in Cashier's Round and match play.
Well, the lanes start out really tight. And if on the monitors there, you can see that light board right on the 8 board there, and you can see Ron's ball go right over 8-9. And that's where a lot of the guys started to begin with, is just to try to keep the ball in this tube for about 45 feet. And if you could keep it straight from off your hand down the lane, you had a good chance. The lanes did open up as the day broke on. But in the beginning, you had to stay in that tube. And for some people, the ball just gets right off their hand and it skips that tube, and there's a huge OB.
Ron Mohr looking for his First PBA 50 Tour title since 2012. Needed that one to push. And a trip 10, my goodness.
Look at that.
Oh, my goodness.
A little love tap.
Keeping it exciting here at Harvest
I told
Park
you he's
Bowl.
got a guardian angel. He got in because, unfortunately, Harry Sullins, I felt sorry for him. He just, bowled great all day until this last round and
Fell
shoots
apart
140. There. He goes 6 count spare in the 8th, splits the 9th, splits the 10th for 140. Ron Mohr loses his match to Brian Kretzer. He only shoots 223, so he didn't get to 30 bonus spins, but the 223 was enough to leapfrog him right in.
Chris Warren's first PBA 50 event this year. And he knew
he
it
just
when
walked
he let
away
it go.
from that.
Absolutely.
And where he's playing crossing like 14 out to 8, that's where most of the guys ended up.
Mm-hmm.
And as the day went on a little bit deeper, but he's inside, but he's got more revs than Ron, so he's got to go. He's got to get in there. And for some of the guys, since the friction in the first 15 feet is so dramatic, even though they're bowling on fresh oil, the ball wants to read early.
It's still, and that's what we're talking about with Michael Hagen during qualification and Cashers round today.
I got a sneak peek at the ball that he was throwing.
Did he lay out something different? This right here has been the story all week here at Harvest Park Bowl. Pocket 710s.
I bowled, like I said, I bowled with Amleto.
Mm-hmm.
He finished the 10th frame of one game with a 710. We started the second in the next frame, next game, next pair, 710. Gets in the second frame, leaves a 710, but the 7 falls just before the rack gets there. He almost left 3 of them. The problem with this pattern, since the fronts start to hook, and after they bowl on it, the oil carries down. As we start out, the oil's steeper in the beginning and is tapered down lane, so you have more back end. But as the guys bowl on it, they burn up the front part, and the oil carries down, so it kind of gets like you're going uphill down, and the ball never makes that move. And it looks good, but it never finishes.
Bowling on the PBA 50 standard oil pattern, 42 feet of fun, 22 milliliters.
42 feet. I mean, that pattern's been 40, 41, 42. This year it's 42. 22 mils doesn't seem like a lot of oil, but on synthetic lanes and where you put it, it can be a lot of oil. But right here in the track, it's not a lot. And that's the same ball he used through 2 games of qualifying and all day. He's only thrown 1 ball. It's a torrent, and he used it the whole tournament. It's a pin down. The CG's kicked out just a little. No hole.
No weight hole.
No weight hole.
Okay.
Chris is throwing one, though, that I looked at. He's got the pin down about an inch below his ring finger, outside of his ring, big hole down in that phase so he can get that ball to start up sooner. Even though it's a pearl ball, he's using the pearl to get through the front, but he needs that ball to read up the mid lane so it makes that turn on the back end. And he didn't like that shot at all. That's why we talk about that out of bounds. You got that tube, you get right of that tube, down lane, and the ball just wiggles, and it just can't get out of there. It's like going uphill.
Let's take a look at PBA 60 Player of the Year here. Digging, grinding.
One thing Ron Mohr is a grinder. And every shot.
We saw that out here this week.
Is unbelievable.
8 top 5 finishes in 2016.
Even though
oh boy,
that was totally unexpected. He thought that ball was going to finish. That kind of evened up the match there a little bit. 3-bagger, then chops that spare. Wow.
We are on fresh oil here.
See what I'm talking about? That oil carrying down?
Right, yeah.
The ball just doesn't want to make that move.
And already through just a few frames in a 15-minute practice session.
15-minute, it doesn't take long at all for that oil to get carried down because the oil that we use is just so thick. It holds up, but it also gets down the lane.
Ron Mohr keeping his line. And
one thing about this pattern, to me, and for like a lot of the super seniors that are out here, it's very speed sensitive. You know, if you don't keep your speed up, you can't keep the ball in the tube. Then what happens is the ball hooks early, so you move left, but now you're in a bigger puddle, and when you swing it, you don't have enough revs as a super senior to get it to turn the corner. So you move back right and it hooks early again. That's why we don't have any hair out here.
it's that stressful out here
yes,
on the 50. Consistency, repeatability. And Warren goes light.
You look at Chris, and people always talk about fast feet. He starts out that first step, second step's almost a pause, and those last 3 steps are flying.
Yeah.
You know, and we always, at least I've always said, ball speed's relative to foot speed. If you get your feet moving, you got some ball speed.
Well, you need to create those revs and get that from somewhere.
You know, trying to create it from just upper body doesn't work. That's when it becomes a very muscled game.
Ron Mohr looking to get back on track.
It can get very confusing out here, you know, when the lanes start to go into transition. And even though we bowled on different links through this whole swing since we started in Newport Richie, it tends to do the same thing. Even though they're different links, there's still a tube you got to stay in. And once that starts going away, it's where you can find that move to get out of the oil to that break point and get the ball back to carry without it losing too much energy.
Ron Mohr converts his spare. As we told you before, 8 PBA 50 tour titles, 4 wins in 2011, including the Senior U.S. Open, which is coming up, Tom. And I'm guessing with the hurt that you're in.
Boy, my back went out this week. It was a mess. I mean, I was 60 over.
Right.
And, you know, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I was in good shape going to the next day. And then my back went nuts. And I struggled to hang on to actually get to do match play today. Then it spasmed out in the parking lot walking in.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, we had heard around here. We were worried about you, wondering if you're going to bowl today.
There's, you know, between the motorhome and, you know, all the injuries I go through, there's just, I'm a mess.
But you're still out here bowling. You're still out here grinding like all the other guys.
It's tough not to bowl. I can't quit. It's just not in the nature.
I didn't seem too sure of that one, but
that rubber band arm swing. He brings that ball back. His wrist is broke, but then he just recups and just loads it through that follow through. It's just wrist broke back, and you can see that motion of his. And that takes a lot of strength to do. Once your wrist opens up and you got to try to close it back, that's all a timing move. Oh my Lord!
You got to be on the younger side of the PBA 50 to be doing that kind of stuff, because that eventually fades away.
Yeah, you learn how to do that, you know, as a young age. You just don't go, okay, I'm 60, and I think I'm going to do that. It just don't work.
And we see there in that shot the speed. Oh, my goodness, the trip 9.
Yeah. Gets a messenger out there that 9.
Yeah, the speed in his approach to the foul line. Right. A little janky, slow, fast, slow.
Just goes. Yeah, and Ron's more, I guess, a traditional, methodical, you know, tempo. You're going to see Amleto when he gets on here. He's going to go. Hugh Miller's a little slower. And Brian Kretzer's got his own unique approach to the game, which is, you know, and that's what it is out here. Everybody's got their own style. As long as you can reproduce and repeat, no matter what you do, you know, you can adjust to what the lanes do, as long as you can repeat.
Ron Mohr back on it. I would also attribute the health regimen. You look at Ron, you look at Amleto, 2 unbelievably healthy and
you're going to look at
physical guys.
Yeah, Amleto, Chris Warren, Ron Mohr. I mean, they're all in shape. And Ron, his workout regimen, like Amleto, is just insane. You know, Ron does 450 push-ups and 750 sit-ups a day.
Oh, my goodness.
And has done it since a sophomore in high school.
So
and it's just
you build a regiment like that, you don't want to stray from it. No,
and people think, how do you know that? Well, I roomed with him in Germany when we bowled a tournament, and I got to watch it. And I just broke out in sweat watching. I'm like, I'm a little fat guy. There's no way I'm doing that.
Oh, Ron can't take out that 10-pin. Well, I was going to say, you could have adopted some of the physicality from Amleto, and maybe it would have helped.
Yeah, no. Ron's got to get on the horse here, because Chris Warren is going to be making the gap a little wider if he keeps striking the way he's striking.
Mohr converts his 10-pin.
It'll be interesting to see what, because the guys come on and get more practice and what the lane transition is going to be. This house from 1 to 16 seems, for me anyway, and talking to Aaron here that runs the pro shop, the lanes seem a little tighter than 17 through 32. They tend to hook more on the higher end of the house.
See, we've had a few different theories on transition, whether a factor, topography, and that ball is just holding there.
This place has such a high lineage. I mean, like last night, there's Full House of League. Night before that's Full House of League.
Right.
You know, they got Cosmic. This place is so busy that the wear on the lanes, some people might have lanes that are 23 years old, and they're in great shape. These, they've been used. I mean, more power to Jim Woggeman for having such a great business.
Right.
You know, but it is what it is, and he's putting in new lanes here next week.
A great youth program filled with leagues here every day. Chris Warren. He's in. He's on.
He's locked in.
Yeah.
That's almost the same layout as the Sherlock. When I asked Chris, I said, what are you throwing and what's your layout? And he goes, well, you want the Storm layout or you want the Moh layout? And I said, well, just give me the Moh layout. And what he was throwing is a 35 by 4.5 by 70. And for all you old timers out there that don't do the dual angle layout, that would be pin down, hold down.
Oh, gosh. Our 2016 PBA50 Player of the Year. Changed his line a little bit. And
well, he's trying to stay straighter. I mean, you
Right.
got one guy attacking him roughly 14, 15 at the arrows, and the other guy attacking him around 8 to 10. The only problem with 8 to 10, it's a great shot for a while, but that just goes away. He's more on top of 10 right now, because that's where basically all your league players, you know, play.
Right.
And when that, you know, starts, that oil that starts dissipating because the balls soak it up, it moves down the lane. And it's just going to start hooking early, and you have to go left. And the thing about going left on this is you better have enough revs to get it back, which obviously Chris Warren has got.
Otherwise, you'll run into some sticky situations like pocket 710s, which you've seen all day.
Or your ball just hit flat and use 10 pin after 10 pin after 10 pin.
And Ron Mohr starting in the first frame around the 6-7 board, that light 9 board, and then continues to move in.
Right, that light board on this pattern, and we've used this pattern a lot, which is actually quite helpful here because you actually got a defined target to look at, you know, that light beige board. Because down lane, it's just with the reflection, and as you can see on the monitors, with the reflection on the lane, sometimes it gets a little hazy down there. You know, trying to figure out what you're going to aim to, because you got to go from point A to point B, and trying to decide where point B is going to be is the hard thing.
Ron Mohr finishing up his 10th frame.
Unfortunately, he got a gift to get to the top 5, but it doesn't look like he's going any farther than 5th.
Not the case there. 213 for Ron Mohr. Nice round of applause here from the crowd at Harvest Park Bowl. And we'll see how Chris finishes this out, if he goes off the sheet or not. He had the hot hand in the position round to get himself here.
Well, he's going to meet a couple hot hands on the way up the ladder.
Yeah. In Amleto, Monacelli.
And you got one hot hand, which has got the whole left lane to himself, or left side to himself.
Right.
You know, he started out, you know, Hugh Miller shot 300, then shoots 300.
Right.
Then he goes to a pair where Dennis Horan had bowled, the other lefty.
Right, the other lefty.
And since he plays them a little bit different, he only shot 190 there.
Mm-hmm.
Goes back to a fresh pair, because I was down there against Walter Ray, and shoots 279, which could have been another 300.
So another lefty can affect that the play of the lane that much.
Right. Especially depending on the surface of the ball they're using, the angles, you know, they're going through the front part of the lane. Yeah, they can and it can change their break point, make the ball read too soon. And the thing about the oils that we use out here, the guys use lots of surface on their ball. You know, 240, 360, 500, you know.
Well, can't produce the revs like the kids can.
No. But the young 50-year-olds like Chris.
53-year-old Chris Warren.
Yeah.
And a great battle.
Chris Warren is going to move on to face Amleto Monacelli.
Next, as the PBA50 Northern California Classic presented by Motiv continues next here from Harvest Park Bowl in Brentwood, California. Tournament Director John Weber getting match 2 underway here. The PBA50 Northern California Classic presented by Motiv. Van McNeil alongside PBA50 Tour member Tom Carter. Warren making this move.
Yeah, well, he's playing the lane. If Amleto does what he just did in practice there, he's a lot deeper than Chris, and I think that could be suicide, because it just makes the shot a little bit over-under. I went down real quick and talked to Chris, and I said that phase was close to that Sherlock, and it was a 35 by 4 by 70, which is pin down, hold down. He loves that ball on fresh oil because it just reads the lane.
Right.
Because once the oil starts carrying down, he's going to put that thing away. Because if he gets it in, and that's what happened when he left that 710, it just doesn't read the back end.
Our first look at Amleto Monacelli, who earned some time off with the bye.
Yeah, he bowled. He was 580 over, something like that. Just, I watched it, an incredible number. He just kept striking.
Amleto tearing it up this PBA 50 tour season, and he continues on that streak.
Amleto's got 3 balls down there, and they're all. He's got a favorite layout. They're all drilled the same, pinned down right under the bridge. Mass just kicked out a little bit, no hole. He's got a solid, he's got a hybrid, and he's got a pearl. So
he got some options.
He's got some options, and he's pretty good at reading the lanes. And we started out the tournament. I thought I started out pretty good. I shoot 230, he shoots 270. I shoot 230 again, he shoots 250. I'm like, well, you know.
Amleto won this in 2015, and he is on point.
I'd say he's got a pretty good look, so this could be a high-scoring match.
Well, you look at the line that Amleto is playing, and it's along the same lines as Chris Warren.
Right.
So Chris is probably going to force him to move.
And you know, we're looking at these guys, and they're senior players, you know, and they got tons of revs. They got great speed. You know, it's not much different than when they were out on the regular tour when they were kids. You know, they might have maybe revved it up a little bit more. I don't think so. Chris didn't like that. He wasn't solid on that shot. He got his timing a little off. He fell off that shot. He stepped out of it right there. And
just a slight miss of target.
Well, when you step out of a shot, one, you don't get the ball to your break point. You lose leverage at the line. It might look good going down the lane.
Right.
And unless all the stars are in line, you're probably going to leave something.
Yeah, you won't get the break that you're wishing for. 53 years old, so on the younger side of the PBA 50 tour here.
And if you don't think there's a big difference between 53 and 60, I got news for you.
Our leader, a super senior himself, Hugh Miller.
Yes, and a down and in player, and we didn't have that many lefties here, and as long as he gets to go to a fresh pair, which he's going to be going to, this could be, I mean, he could win again here.
We'll see. Chris Warren on 13. The unique approach to the line. And there we go.
And you're not going to see much different from Brian Kretzer when he comes in. He's going to be playing that same line. And we're talking about the young 50s. They have a few more revs. They're not scared to move left. The older 60-year-olds, you know, they like to play the track. And they don't have the revs, so they feel if they move left, they'll never get the ball back. And, you know, a lot of times that's not true because the lane dictates on whether you're going to bring the ball back or not. And you just got to trust your ability. And a lot of them just like, oh, I'll never get the ball to hook that much. Well, sometimes it's not about it because these guys aren't really trying to overhook it. They're just trying to get the ball to the spot.
Right, and let the ball do the work into the pocket.
Right. And if you look at their releases, they're real clean. You know, they're into the lane. They're not grabbing on it. They're not hitting up on it.
But Amleto has had that style for
ever
since I was watching him as a kid on Saturday afternoons.
Well, I take that back. There is a difference in Amleto. If we had an old film, you would see Amleto with his elbow tucked in tighter and the ball held up in front of his face.
Up by the chin.
Yeah, now if you look at him, his hand's on the side of it, a little bit more relaxed through the upper body so that the ball gets into the swing a little freer.
Interesting. Amleto trips that 10, gets lucky, and
you think that was
first
luck?
4. Well, you trip it to that was pure skill. Come on. You don't always get that trip 10.
No, but when you throw it that good, you get a few.
53-year-old Chris Warren here on 14. See if he changes his line.
No, he's still around 14, out to like 7, and it came back. As he said earlier when I talked to him, if he gets it in and it hits a little bit of that puddle, he flat 10s or 7 10s, and that's something he's got to stay away from.
His best 2015 PBA50 Tour finish of 4th in the Suncoast Senior U.S. Open, his rookie season. We'll be back out at Suncoast in a few weeks.
All of the guys, which was kind of interesting, all of the guys on this pattern are throwing balls with the pin down, either under the bridge or under the ring finger, which mellows out that back end. You know, a lot of times in league we like to have the pin up. You know, people say make the ball go long and hook late. So they drill it with the pin above the bridge or above the ring finger. And out here, the back ends are so violent, you don't need that extra help. So you drill them pin down, so the ball is just a heavier roll, reads that mid lane a little stronger, and very continuous on the back end.
So pin up, runs longer.
And snaps harder.
Snaps late.
Right. And on a pattern like this, you get over under. You catch the oil, the ball goes a little bit too far, comes in late, 2-8-10. You move a little right and hits the dry, and it hooks so hard it goes right through the face, big 4. And so guys back home, if you haven't tried something with the pin down to make it a little more rollier, you might want to try it.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, though, the shape is so much different than pin up. Guys like, well, I want it to snap harder on the back end. And they're like, no, you don't. That's what you're trying to get away from, is that, you know, that hard snap.
Well, back to the grip and rip it days.
Well,
and,
that's true.
You know, the house hacks out there. I was definitely one of them.
But, you know, it's fun to watch a ball, you know, make that big move. But a lot of times that's a 260, 160 type reaction, you know.
Amleto.
Front 5. Warren, strike, spare, next 3. So we got a 300, 280 going.
Yeah. Good battle here in Brentwood, California. 6 in a row for Amleto.
You know, I don't care who you are. You go up against Amleto or a Pete Weber or a Walter Ray with all those titles. You got to have a little bit of butterflies, you know.
Well, you wouldn't be human otherwise.
Yeah.
It's normal to have those nerves, but we're talking about Amleto and just bowling out of his mind, averaging 234 during qualifying here this week.
You don't have to keep reminding me. I watched it.
You were right next to him.
Right
you lived it, yeah.
I was right there.
Van McNeil alongside PBA50 member Tom Carter.
Headed to Las Vegas tomorrow to bowl the Super Senior Classic.
So you're gonna make the trip to Vegas.
Yeah, we're gonna leave early in the morning. I'm gonna miss practice because it's roughly a 10-hour trip in the motorhome. You know, knock on wood, the motorhome's doing okay. And we get down there, and I'll get down there. I'll miss practice, and then we bowl 12 games the next day, 6 in the morning and 6 in the afternoon. So God willing, a little luck, and the creek don't rise.
Yeah,
my back holds up. I'll be all right.
Another strike for Chris Warren. Didn't look like he liked it, but strike's a strike. As we see him, trying to make that ball hurry up, and he got the break, rolling the eyes.
Well, you got to have a little luck in this game. Otherwise, you definitely will pull your hair out because the shots that you do throw good that don't strike, you know, that's enough to make you bite your tongue. And so when you do get a break, it's like, yes, I think they all even out at some point in time.
55-year-old Amleto Monacelli.
Don't look it. So Amleto's crossing more like 17, maybe 18, out to 8. He's got a little bit different axis tilt than Chris. You can see his ball just rolls up. It never like changes direction hard.
No.
It's a lot of forward, and when it changes direction, it just drives through the pocket. That's why his carry's so great. It just never keeps going past that 9-pin. It just sets up to the hole.
A beautiful style to emulate for you house and league bowlers, if you can.
Yeah, that's like trying to copy Pete Weber.
Right.
Yeah. I think about 100,000 people have tried, and one's done it, him.
Right. Surprised to not see Pete out here in Brentwood, withdrawal in Indianapolis, and tending to the body.
Yeah, he was hurting. Unfortunately, at Indy, the approaches were a little sticky, and I felt sorry for him because you could just see him. He was in agony when he got to the line, jamming his hip, and so he needed some time off. A little chiropractor, stretch him upside down, twist him around.
Uncharacteristic for a withdrawal. I think a younger Pete Weber probably would have pushed on. Oh,
I'm sure, and I think there's times that he has, and maybe that's kind of what causes the problems you have.
Wow.
There's a lot of torque on your body right there at the point of release.
Right.
Even though it might not look like it, because, you know, I don't care what you weigh, it's going 5-6 mile an hour to the foul line, if not a little faster, and you got to come to a dead halt, basically, and swing a 15, 16-pound object by you with some kind of accuracy.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of hurts.
Chris Warren just trying to save face here and keep even with Amleto. Still at a 280 pace. Amleto.
Interesting. Chris is throwing, a pearl ball and obviously shined, and Amleto's throwing a solid with a little surface on it.
Two different approaches, and what a break.
Brooklyn. That's what we talked about. He got that right early, hit that track, went dead left on him. No, he wasn't trying to do that. We try to keep the ball on line to about 40, 45 feet and let it tilt up, but sometimes that's not possible. Whether
it be a slight change in ball speed or a slight miss of target.
Well, as long as you're breathing, you're going to make mistakes.
Right.
But the key is, to keep a level head, learn from the mistakes, hopefully rebound. He got a break out of that. He makes the adjustment. He's back in the hole.
Amleto for 9. And he is there, making it look effortless.
I got to watch this for 2 days. I've had the benefit of bowling with Hagen 3 times, and he's made 3 shows. I bowl with Amleto, he makes the show. I don't know what to say. I mean, you would think I'd be learning something, but I can't throw it like either one of them.
More practice, Tom?
Oh, my Lord. I could practice till the cows come home, and it's not going to make a whole lot of difference, I don't think. I just got to get better at what I do.
As we've said, Amleto won this tournament, the PBA Northern California Classic, in 2015. And the hot hand this year so far, 3 top 10 finishes this year. Oh, my goodness. Tripped that 10 pin.
There's a little love tap right there. Amazing.
Look at the replay.
Dead solid line, but he was every shot. 6 pin goes to the side, in the gutter, rattles around, the head pops out just to nick the bottom of the 10 pin.
And the reaction, loves it.
Well, whatever he said there wasn't in English, so it doesn't.
The Venezuelan from Venezuela.
One more for 300 on the show.
Oh, boy.
That'd be all right.
That would be excellent.
Cool, calm, and collected. You haven't seen his emotions hardly change other than that little tapped out 10.
And we were talking about that during qualification and match play. You can psych yourself out here. Throw a bad shot, react badly, didn't like it. You're still mulling over it.
You got to let that stuff go.
Yeah, you got to.
For the young players, that are wanting to go to college or they're bowling in high school, bad shots are going to happen. Just you got to let it go and regroup yourself and make good shots.
Amleto, the only foreign-born player in the PB Hall of Fame for a 300.
Oh, my Lord, 296.
Oh, goodness.
You talk about missing right. Maybe got a little amped on that. I'll have to go ask him.
Look at the replay right here. And,
that was right early, kind of like what happened with Chris Warren's ball. He hit that friction, didn't get as far right, and went Brooklyn. He went farther right, got into that OB, and the ball here's a big out of bounds if you get out around 4. And it's just not coming back.
Chris Warren's just trying to save face and put on a great game, a good show. 280 pace.
296 to 280.
Oh, my goodness.
You got to. Obviously, he's disappointed. He's bowling fantastic. Just that one errant shot in the second frame.
A great run by 53-year-old Chris Warren's 47 PBA regional titles, 2 PBA 50 regional titles as well. And as he wraps up his game here.
I don't think he thought that was going to strike. He fell off of that shot. And he was
the humble smile as he comes off the approach.
That was kind of like that 10 pin that he left. You start losing leverage, you start losing strikes.
So, as Chris wraps up his 10th frame here, up next, Tom, Brian Kretzer, the 51-year-old with
Another
5 PBA top 10 finishes.
Another young 50-year-old.
So a 296 for Amleto Monacelli, a 280 for Chris Warren's. Match number 3 between Amleto and Brian Kretzer, the 51-year-old, next here from Brentwood, California, as the PBA 50 Northern California Classic continues, presented by Motiv. Welcome back to Brentwood, California, and the PBA 50 Northern California Classic, presented by Motiv. Van McNeil alongside PBA 50 Tour member Tom Carter. Did you go talk to Amleto?
I went and talked to Amleto, and I made a false statement. I have to correct myself.
Okay.
He is throwing the dark legend, but it's a pin up above the ring finger.
Oh.
Yeah, mass right next to the thumb. And I said, you made a liar out of me. I said, all 3 were the same. And they're not. And I said, why did you choose that ball? And he goes, well, I could get to the pocket with all 3, but this one felt like I had more room to strike with. So
okay.
He went with his gut feeling, and obviously that paid off.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Our first look at 51-year-old Brian Kretzer.
Brian from my neck of the woods, over in Dayton. I'm out of Columbus, so Brian's been around quite a while, a high roller guy.
Right.
This boy can play. He's got a unique style, lots of steps. He's cut it down. At one time he had like 13 steps.
Oh, boy.
I think he's down to like 7. But
and that's still a lot. But everyone has their own unique style and approach and their routine.
Yeah, I asked him, I said, what was your philosophy? Because you played him different than anybody. He goes, he wanted to be left of everybody and go after every shot with everything he had.
Sure, kind of.
He was just going to slow hook it past everybody, and that's pretty much what he's doing right now. He's crossing 5th arrow, throwing a high road, going sideways with it.
And creating his own shot, his own lane.
Yep. He's bowled 6 tournaments out here this year. He's cashed in 4 of them. He missed cashing in the first 2, which is highly unusual for Brian because he's always in the money.
His best finish this year, 14th in the Race City Open. Amleto coming off a big game in his last match, keeping that momentum going. Can't take out that 7.
Well, that's that little bit of oil that gets carried down. I mean, it looks pretty good. He gets it out. It just doesn't check up. When that oil carries down that mid lane, you see the ball go just a pinch farther, like 6 inches, and the ball just comes in lighter in the pocket and just never continues.
That just goes to show that there is not a lot of room for error. 6 inches.
But yeah, Amleto was big in the late 80s, 90s with the rollout shot. Everybody, he could get that ball to literally stand up and look like a foot right in front of the pocket and just push everything straight back. And nobody else could do that, It made him famous.
Also, I would say that headband that he used to wear.
Yeah, I'm glad he's not wearing that anymore.
Keep the sweat out. Is this something you didn't want to adopt there, Tom?
No, little fat guys with a headband just don't look good. Something about that.
Amleto's approach to the foul.
Just dead rock solid every time.
Every
you take
time.
anything away from watching Amleto bowl, be as solid as he is at the line every shot.
Whether
it's insane how good he is at the line. We call that posting, and he just posts until the ball hits the pins.
Right.
That way you can watch the ball motion all the way down the lane, cross your target, get to your break point, see if it reads the mid lane, and the way it goes through the pins and leaves the deck. All of that is important, just not hitting the pins.
Right. The more information you can get, the better, and it'll help you out in the long run. Kretzer didn't think that one was going to come back.
This game has gotten a lot more technical than what a lot of people think. The technology. Evolution has finally hit bowling, and with the balls, the weight blocks, the oils, the lane surfaces, there's a lot more to watch and pay attention to in today's game. And the environment changes so fast because of these cover stocks, and the way guys just throw the ball, the rev rates, it's just it's insane.
Right, gone are the days of nostalgia, the wood lanes, the urethane. Well, urethane making a little bit of a comeback here in the 2000s.
Yeah, you see a lot of urethane, and a lot of that's because the lanes get so dry so quick. Guys can go something that they can control the lane with. These balls, they're so strong, it's tough to get them to the spot down lane. And if you can't get it to that spot, you're just throwing a ball.
I kind of wish I would have kept my old stuff from back in the day.
There's a lot of people that say that. They come in the pro shop and go, "You got a ball that's like this?" Nope.
That's long gone. That was decades ago.
Kretzer's throwing a high road. He threw it all day today. And he's pinned under the middle finger. CG's kicked out a little bit. And that pin under the middle finger for him is a little farther from his axis, so it gets that ball down the lane a little farther for him.
Looking at Amleto's replay, he's right on.
You know, and you know, people just watch it, and people at home, and even us watching here, you're like, what adjustment did he make to make the ball flush up?
Yeah,
you know,
he made one.
And the adjustments that these guys make, whether it's a hand position, a speed, maybe a little bit loft. When I was crossing with Amleto, I think it was on 25 and 26, on the left lane, he was trying to get the ball into the lane, and on the right lane, he was trying to get it farther out on the lane with a slower ball speed.
Okay.
So he not only was changing his loft on that pair, he was also changing his ball speed.
Gosh. It's
most of us have trouble doing one thing, let alone trying to do three.
That you're really knowledgeable in the game, that you know to make those little changes. That's the difference, and I've been saying this all week, the difference between house and league bowlers and the pros out here. It's those little nuances that we don't think about.
Yeah, and we don't even see. You just wonder, like, well, how come he started striking all of a sudden? You know, the greats of this game see the lane. To me, they see it just like us going to a golf course and seeing the sand and the water and the trees and stuff. It's like they can see the lane. And, I mean, most people out there that have bowled have had that night where it just looks like you could just see the shot and everything was clear as a bell. Then there's other days that you're bowling in a fog.
Right, right. As we saw yesterday on CBS Sports Network, the blue oil at the main event PBA Tour Finals, which is really revealing. You don't think about how bowlers carve up the lanes, but you really see it in that blue oil pad.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that would be a great training tool for young kids, you know, for a house to have that so that they could see why you're making the adjustments that you had to make because the oil's dissipating or carrying down, you know.
Right.
Then you graduate from that, you go to the same shot but on a lane that's got regular oil, and now you have to see it on your own.
Right. It's one thing to talk about it, and it's another thing to see it.
Yeah, you can talk about it till you're as blue as that oil, and some people don't get it.
So 4 more Tuesdays to go on CBS Sports Network, 9:30 Eastern for the main event PBA Tour Finals, and Brian Kretzer making an adjustment.
You know, like I said, Brian decided that he was going to do something different than anybody. He's going to go left and just get all of it. And he's not throwing it hard, but he's got such a unique style. He can slow hook that thing, and he's got such control over it. And that's what made him really good at the high rollers. He could play way left on the lane, get that ball to go right, and get it to recover and hit, just like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you weren't kidding about his approach to the foul line. That's a lot of steps. I was trying to count those there.
It's 7 steps, and he drifts literally 15, maybe 18 boards to the left.
Wow.
So when you see him stand, you think, oh, he's playing up 10 too. And the time he gets the line, he's throwing over 5th arrow.
We look at Brian Kretzer's style.
Ted Hannes was another player out on the tour that did that. And if you actually watch Dale Traber, who's got 52 regional titles and 2 Masters titles, he drifts like 15 boards left.
Right, Dale out here in Brentwood qualifying, attempting to this week, being very un-Dale-like.
Yeah, he wasn't a happy camper. And he's won this tournament before.
Right. Nice shot from Amleto, tripping the 10 out. A very big thank you to our corporate sponsors, Barbasol, Brunswick, Geico, Grand Casino Hotel Resort, HotelPlanner.com, and the United States Bowling Congress, the USBC, a future for the sport.
I get to bowl that July 2nd and 3rd, and boy, the scores coming out of there are they're brutal. They're tough this year.
Oh, my goodness.
There's another love tap. First he gets the 10, now he gets the 7-10.
We had seen a number of pocket 7-10s here, and it was a running joke on the telecast throughout the days. we would be at least $20, $25 in with all the pocket 710s we saw this week.
I tell you what, I mean, some of these patterns, they're conducive to leaving those things.
Right.
710s, and you make adjustment off that, and you go to 810. You're like, whoa, what happened? Yeah, he's sliding on 33, crossing just left of the fourth arrow, so he's drifting every bit of 15 to the left. And it's just a lineup procedure. Some people see the lane a little bit different. He's crossing like 22, 23, trying to get it out to 8.
Now, our league bowlers, we saw the wrap 10 there in Kretzer's shot. What are the little adjustments? Is it really just hand placement, moving the ball a couple of inches to get a better angle into the pocket? Or
he might make in the old days we'd make a 1 and 1 to the right, try to get the ball to come up higher. But on today's game, a lot of times we move left when we leave 10 pins just to create a little more skid so the ball stores more energy, so it turns the corner harder. And he might try to slow it up to make the corner a little harder. He could wrist it a little more, and it's just little nuances that you don't even see. That here from the monitor that I'm watching, just trying to see if he's doing anything different to make sure that the ball faces up.
And
to me,
down there
that looked like it was a lot slower.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it was in the approach to the line or in the release itself.
And that's the problem, obviously, with having slower ball speed. With the kind of revs that he's got, when that ball reads friction, it's going to go left, and you're like, dang, it just goes right through the face, and there's only one way to pick this up. He's got to try to slide that 3 into the 4-7.
Does he go for it? Does he go
He's
for
going
it?
for
He's
it.
going for it. Okay. Oh, goodness.
I thought he had it.
That was a debate this week as well here at Harvest Park Bowl. When you're faced with a split, do you go for it, or do you go with the count and continue on after?
Well, probably 9 times out of 10, you're going to go with the count, I would think.
Right.
But when you're in a match like this that you need pins, you're going to go for the win.
Okay, you do what it takes.
And do what it takes.
He could have had a 9 count there, though. A couple pins could make all the difference.
And if he was on a strike going for a count, if 2's 4, it's double.
Right.
So definitely go for the count if you're on a strike, I would think. But because every pin counts in this game.
Amleto with the hot hand, and now he's back on track.
Amleto going at a 2:59 pace. Amleto caught every bit of that one, and it got a little bit farther right down lane. He got it out to like 6-7, and that ball made the turn. And there's some guys out here that can make the ball come back from everywhere.
Right.
Pete can do it. Amleto can do it.
The younger end of the 50 tour.
We got a guy out here by the name of Chris Keene standing right there that if he uncorks it, he can make the ball go sideways. It's just like, how do you do that?
Oh, I missed the target and got a break anyway. 4 in a row for Amleto.
Yeah, and Kretzer's got to be feeling the pressure because he can only shoot 233. So he has got to fulfill this frame right here, and he's going to hope that Amleto has a little lapse in concentration.
I doubt it, but we'll see how it plays out. Kretzer.
Well,
he didn't like that. He didn't like the way that played out.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. I thought he got it too far right down lane. He crossed 20. He's a little bit farther right. He's out to 4 or 5.
And that's along Amleto's line almost.
Yeah, and I didn't think that was going to make it back. But again, he's got a little bit slower ball speed, so it give it time to come back. But that's suicide out there. I mean, repeating that shot is tough.
Right.
You're crossing a lot of boards.
Kretzer, 15 PBA regional titles, 4 PBA 50 regional titles. And along the same lines,
that was the same shot as he had on the right lane.
Right.
And it about didn't come back because when you cross that, everything slows down when it's thrown, right? So if it slows down too fast before it gets there, it's going to basically roll out. It has no more energy to keep continuing to the left. And that's basically what happened there. It had just enough to get to the head pin and hit him thin, watch him spin type thing.
How much of the 2 different types of lane surface is that big of a deal? Are we making mountains out of molehills there? The first 15 feet as we look, we were talking about it at the beginning, the 2 different types of lane surfaces.
Well, for him, I mean, traditionally there's less lefties than righties, right? So him playing so deep, especially in the front 15 feet, that surface is fresher, so it helps him get the ball down the lane. If he was farther right with those revs that he had, the ball would be dead left.
Take off.
It would take off on him. That's why, you know, like on cheetah pattern, you see guys play way outside, and they go, why do you play so far out to the right, 35 feet? Because there's not that much oil, and you got 25 feet of dry lane. Well, hardly anybody uses the boards from 5 to the gutter.
Right.
So that's a pristine surface. So when you put oil on that surface, the ball automatically skids farther and gets farther down the lane. People that try to play left of that, since it's a short pattern, the ball hooks so much. You know?
Unless you're along the lines of Eugene McCune and you
can throw 300 miles an hour.
300 miles an hour up the 5 board.
So Kretzer did his job, 233.
But is it enough? As Amleto steps into his 10th frame, and that checked up early.
Yeah, it looked like he was a little bit slow, so he needs a spare and count to win.
Yeah,
he can shoot a possible 236. He just eased up on that, just like he didn't go for it quite there.
That ball started to take off on the back end.
Revs with no speed is not a good thing.
Revs with no speed. Okay. Obviously.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're giving the ball more time to hook, and the more boards it crosses, the harder it is to repeat shots.
And that's just for a one-handed bowler.
Yeah, well, take a look at Walter Ray or Norm Duke for the most part. They're pretty straight.
Yeah,
you know? They don't cross a lot of boards, and it's easier to keep the ball in play when you never give up the pocket. When you're standing way left, you're giving up the pocket, and you're hoping you get the ball to the spot down here so that it actually can change direction and hit the pocket and still have enough power to carry.
7 for a tie, 8 for a win.
I am not going to pull a Nelson Burton and go,
oh, goodness. A 233.
Folks, we have the possibility of a tie, and we have it.
John Weber.
A one-ball roll-off. Kretzer gets to choose. Obviously, he's going to go first because if he well, obviously he wants to. Amleto just missed twice.
Right, you've put the pressure back in Amleto. So our one-frame roll-off.
Well, that makes bowling a little more exciting, right?
Oh, absolutely. Fell out of that shot, and a 6 count.
He wasn't solid at the line at all and didn't like it off his hand. He was hoping for a little love and didn't get it.
Yeah, you see.
He was deeper on that shot. He crossed like 24-25.
I was going to say, missed a target, and that ball just never came back.
Yeah, he was so much into the oil, which is fresh oil, obviously. It hasn't been used, and the ball just hydroplaned to that spot, and he just didn't have enough time to get it to the pocket. Now, since it's a one-ball roll-off, what do you do here? Do you try to strike, or you just throw the high hard one to the head pin?
I think you go with what you've been throwing all game, all week. Amleto has had the hot hand. We'll see what he does. Oh, my goodness. No, he's right there. So Amleto
and 9-6 roll-off. Didn't see that one coming.
What will we see next? Amleto Monacelli advances to the championship match against another guy with a hot
red-hot hand on the left side, Hugh Miller.
Back-to-back 300s, Hugh Miller and Amleto Monacelli next here from Brentwood, California, as the PBA50 Northern California Classic continues, presented by Motiv. Van McNeil alongside PBA50 Tour member Tom Carter on the call here. Championship match of the PBA50 Northern California Classic presented by Motiv. Tom, your buddy Amleto.
I got to watch him strike all week, and I'm not so sure that he's going to stop striking right here either. And he's against a red-hot Hugh Miller. 2 300s today. It's just – and a 279. He's just and it was kind of interesting. I don't know if you heard. He opted not to throw his last practice shot.
Right.
Probably doesn't want to change the shot on his side. You know, he likes what it is. He doesn't want to carry any more oil.
All right.
He doesn't want to wear it out.
A tactic, a theory. We'll see if it holds up. And
a little high.
Yeah, high for Amleto.
Just drove right, almost a 4.9. Just drove right past the 9. You could see it just. The ball's actually got to hit the 1, 3, 5, and it kind of deflects into the 9. And now the big thing is splitting the 8-9. Guys, you always say, "Boy, I split the 8-9." Well, that ball never deflected off the 5 to get into the 9. Simple spare.
Yep, converts his.
Well, I shouldn't say that. Not every spare is simple, you know. I miss enough of them, so I should know.
So Hugh Miller, our super senior lefty.
Very methodical style. Just a nice down and in player.
Smooth to the line. And already dialed in, picking up where he left off.
That is kind of how it looked when you shot back-to-back 300s. If I'm not mistaken, he's playing like right up 8, right down the lane. He's basically keeping that ball on line, down 8 till the break point, and it just migrates to the 1-2 pocket, and it's all over.
And he's out there on his own. No one has been over there. He ran into that problem in match play.
Against Dennis Horan.
Yeah, in Game 3.
Yep.
And threw that 190.
There was only 2 lefties in the top 16, so they didn't cross paths too many times. So it doesn't look like he's going to slow down anytime soon.
We got ourselves the making of a great match here between these two.
He's throwing a high road, pinned down, no hole. He threw it all day today. But what got him here was a high wire. He started this tournament with. And then when he got into match play, he went to a high road, and the rest is history.
55-year-old Amleto Monacelli.
Yeah, bowling against a super senior. He's trying to beat up on the old guys. Come on.
Take it easy. No, it's dog eat dog out here. In a friendly kind of way.
Oh, yeah. And the guys on the tour here, it's like a big senior traveling league. It really is, you know. And all the guys get along. It's just, it's comfortable.
Oh, it's a lot of fun out here on the tour. All the guys are great. Super respectful.
And everybody's goal out here is just to get one of those banners hanging up on the wall. You know, it's obviously not about the money. The guys want to win, and they want to. What other sport can you go and compete with the best players in the world?
Right, absolutely.
You'd be on the same lane, same house, same shot, side by side. You watch him on TV one week, and you're bowling next to him the next week. That's pretty cool.
You can't do that in golf. You can't do that in basketball.
Yeah, you're not going to do it in football or baseball either.
Absolutely not.
We definitely have a unique sport.
And I will say, Amleto, he arrived early, was here on Saturday along with Bob Learn, teaching the kids.
I've seen that. Yeah, they had 16 students, I think, in here for a 3-hour class. And they were videotaping, teaching them new things, breaking some old bad habits.
Oh.
He posted that shot just a little bit different than the 2 previous shots. He was a little bit more down and forward right there. And he just got that ball to go down the lane, just a fuzz.
Little snap of the wrist at the bottom.
You know.
Maybe trying to emulate Amleto.
One thing out here you don't want to do, or you do anywhere actually, is you don't want to try to place the ball. You got to roll it. You got to get it clean off your hand. Trying to force it to go somewhere just doesn't work.
The other thing you mentioned, Tom, and this is a great suggestion for any house or league bowler out there. If you're able to grab your phone, grab a video camera, and videotape yourself through a few frames, it will open up your eyes.
Get a different set of eyes.
Yeah.
Because back here, ball motion looks a lot different than what you see at the foul line. A perfect example in qualifying the first 3 games, Walter Ray was struggling.
Right, right.
And me being the player services rep for Brunswick, I told Walter that, we got to get a different ball in your hand. And he goes, you need to throw a solid. He was trying to throw a pearl. And he goes, he picks it. He kind of argued with me a little bit, but he picked it up and he threw it. And, he shoots 260, he shoots 220, he shoots the 300. He goes, well, it just hooks more on the back end. I go, no, it hooks more in the mid lane. It doesn't hook on the back end. It hooks in the mid lane. You might see more hook, from your perspective. From my perspective, it picks up a roll earlier. And if you got somebody back home that can stand behind you and see your ball motion and explain it to you so that you understand how the ball is actually rolling down the lane and where it's actually reading the mid and getting to the break point, you're going to be a much better bowler.
Trip that 10-pin.
That's like he's got an elf on his shoulder because that is the third one that's happened. 2 10s and a 7-10.
As we look at the replay here, nice shot, same line.
Came in almost a little light, but with those kind of revs, he could mix up the pins. He had, when I was crossing with him, when he had one shot that came across, the pin literally was a foot in the air, bounced on the deck, and went it back in the air and took out the 10. And it looked like a two-hander through it. And I asked him if he threw that two-handed.
We don't have any 50 or 60-year-olds out here throwing a two-hander.
Not that I've seen.
Not yet.
Not yet. We will. It's sooner or later, but we haven't seen one yet. Most of us got too much arthritis to move that way.
Yeah, it's pretty physical to bowl like a two-hander.
Yes. We can't bend that much.
So going back to Walter Ray, you won that argument with him, and he changed his arsenal?
Yeah, he changed. And that's what, our jobs as ball reps are, to see ball motion and help our players out. What he sees and what I see were, two different things. And,
right.
And how do you tell a guy that's got 101 titles that you're throwing the wrong ball? But I was fortunate enough, though, this week, Walter got married.
I was going to say, you were part of the festivities.
I was the best man, which I didn't expect to be at all. He asked me to come to the wedding. Then when I got there, he goes, yeah, you're going to give me the ring. You're going to be the best man. Then when we're sitting there eating dinner, he goes, oh, by the way, you got to get up and make a toast. And
oh, boy. You had to do the speech. And
yeah, and I had no idea what to say.
So a friend on the lanes and a friend off the lanes with Walter Ray. We saw some of the pictures. You guys were dressed up as minions, you and John Weber.
Yeah, we are Walter's minions, yes. I'm sure they'll be on Facebook.
Hugh Miller.
Oh, he got that farther than 8. He was more like 5'6".
I don't know if he fell out of that shot.
It was just too far left for him. It gets it out there, and the ball just doesn't pick up. He's been keeping it on line. And maybe he's trying to place it a little bit after that last shot that 7 that didn't carry.
Right, pick up the ball speed a little bit, maybe. Hugh Miller throwing back-to-back 300s in match play.
Textbook, just a simple style. I guess I'm old school. I tend to like those styles that have not as many moving parts because there's less things to go wrong,
Hugh Miller, 60 years old, a super senior out here.
Yes, that's just wrong. Super seniors. The next level is the 70-year-olds, and those are frogs.
Oh, I thought we'd go ultra seniors.
No, frogs. They're the freaking really old guys.
Mega seniors. Amleto's there. 5 in a row.
Well, Amleto knows that he can't miss a beat. Crossing 20, back out to 8. He's bowling against a guy that's got a fresh lane surface. Obviously, Amleto's has changed. He's had 3 other righties on there besides him playing different shots. So his oil's moved, changed, carried down, and Hugh's got a fresh shot. So Amleto can't afford to make a mistake. And some guys are going to go, well, yeah, but Amleto's shot might have opened up. But on the same token, it also can close down with that oil if it gets down to his break point and the ball doesn't make that turn.
Well, we've seen Amleto here. He's made that move slightly left since his first match.
That was way left.
Yeah, too much.
That was 5th arrow, 24, and that's dead zone in there.
Look in the replay. You see that ball grab right there.
He never got that right at all. Even though he went deeper, his angle through the front part of the lane wasn't what it needed to be. But this is makeable. And he made, 2, 5-count splits in qualifying.
20 career PBA Tour titles. 2012 PBA 50 Rookie of the Year. Thought he had that.
He thought he had it too. So he's got a possible 256 if he strikes the rest of the way out.
Not necessarily opening the door for Miller, but
yeah, he thought that was there. It looked like it was there.
Hugh Miller's best finish, 7th this season. Sun Bowl in the Villages.
Hugh has got a possible 258. We have a 2-pin match if they go off the sheet. We could have the possibility of another tie.
And slowed up his shot a little bit. It checked up again.
If you watch that replay, just what I seen, Hugh got a little bit bent forward right there.
Oh, okay.
Which causes the ball to hook early. He never projected it down the lane, and it checked up way too soon. Anytime you get your shoulders too far ahead of your knees, especially when you're bending down, you're going to create too much early hook.
And it's not like he's stuck at the line. He slid there on his spare, but.
So now, unfortunately, Hugh just gave Amleto 20 pins.
Right, open the door right back.
Yes. Amleto could be, is it back-to-back winners?
2015.
2015.
Over here. The Northern California
See,
Classic.
that's how time flies when you get old.
Last year it was Noel Vasquez.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Noel on his way to Vegas.
Beat Pete Weber.
That's right.
Pete could have had his 6th win in a row.
That is absolutely right.
I remember that. See? My
just got to
my Alzheimer's.
Shake it up a little.
I got to shake it loose there. I am a senior.
Van McNeil alongside PBA 50 Tour member Tom Carter having some fun here at Harvest Park Bowl in Brentwood, California.
You always see those things on Facebook, how good it can be. You're not at work, you're out playing golf. For us, it's, how good it can be. We're out bowling,
Back on it.
That rubber band snap.
Yeah.
When Amleto came out on tour, everybody and their brother said, there's no way that shoulder and elbow are going to hold up. It's just not going to happen. But he's in such good shape, and he works out.
How many push-ups or how many push-up sit-ups?
Oh, that's Ron Mohr.
Oh, Ron Mohr. Ron Mohr with the sit-ups and
yeah, 750 sit-ups, 450 push-ups.
But Amleto has his own physical.
Amleto runs like 5 miles a day.
Yeah. And you wouldn't want to join him there, Tom?
I might get from here to the door, have a small seizure.
Amleto taking a re-rack. And here we go. Push. Ooh.
Oh. He's got it going on. He's putting some pressure back on Hugh. Hugh's got the chance. He's got to finish. So if Hugh strikes out, all he can hope for is that that right lane comes into play again for Amleto.
Right. We'll see how it plays out. 60-year-old Hugh Miller joined the PBA 50 Tour in 2013.
He's back on it. That's the shots that I've seen 24 of.
24 impressive strikes, back-to-back 300s
and
here.
that's moving pairs too. You're
right.
You're not on the same pair.
But one other lefty can throw that side of the lane into a tizzy.
Oh, it can, depending on the type of ball he's using. 70% of ball reaction is ball surface to lane surface. So if he's got a ball that maybe he's sanded with 240 or 360, it's just burning up the track. He's causing somebody else's ball to read the lane early, and lose energy too fast. Hey, it's almost, you can play defense in this game. And that shut the door right there.
That will
he
give
just,
the match to Amleto.
Yeah, he just handed it over right there. And I know that Amleto didn't want to win sitting on the bench.
Right.
None of the guys do. They really do like it coming down to, I got to throw this shot.
Right. You don't want to leave it in anybody else's hands. Maybe save face here and convert it.
Oh, he gave it a run.
So 198 for Hugh Miller.
All Amleto has to do is show up, stay behind the foul line.
Throwing it straight or going with his usual approach.
He might change balls.
Yeah. Just to see what's going to happen.
I don't think he's going to make a change at this point.
No, absolutely not.
22, he played it a little bit tighter, and it went right through the face. It's a good thing. Something must not have felt right in his hand because he's looking at his hand.
Right.
He got away with it.
But a winner nonetheless.
That's it. Another title.
55-year-old Amleto Monacelli. He won it in 2015 and again here in 2017.
Well, he was the crowd favorite.
Absolutely. And a great show of support here for the PBA.
And I know that for 16 games because I listened to it.
So we'll let Amleto finish up his 10th frame. And
you're headed down to do the interview.
Yeah, we'll get out there and talk to him. Tom, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Absolutely.
It's been fun.
PBA 50 member Tom Carter, Van McNeil. We're going to go talk to Amleto. Thanks for watching the PBA 50 Northern California Classic presented by Motiv. As we check in with our tournament leader, Amleto, or our winner, Amleto Monacelli, what a week you've had here. Averaging 234 in qualifying, match play, cashers round. You had the buys. That break had to make all the difference for you.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you gotta go like just frame by frame. That's what I did. I tried to forget the things that I couldn't change, like my bad shot over there, and just get over it again. I think the strategy here, besides the ball motion that I had and making the right changes, I think my strength was to keep myself really mentally focused and strong.
You were really on the mental game, talking during qualifying about moves that you were anticipating to make that you weren't sure if you had to or not out here.
Well, one thing I learned on the tour is that whenever you need to make a decision, you have to make the decision without thinking back and just believe that's the right decision and go for it.
Congratulations on the win, Amleto. And before we let you go, a great house here in Jen Wegman and Harvest Park Bowl, a great crowd. Give it up for Amleto, huh? And a great house.
Well, I want to thank Jim, the whole staff. They are just fantastic. They treat us really good. And I got some friends from Venezuela that came from
They made the trip over,
yes,
huh?
Yes. So it's it makes you feel really comfortable, welcome, and happy, just because everybody is so into it. They can't wait until we come here. And thank you to Jim and the whole staff.
Yeah, absolutely. A great house, and a nice round of applause for the entire staff here at Harvest Park Bowl. Before we let you go, what's next for you? Are you heading out to Vegas? Will you join us at Suncoast? What's coming up next?
Yes, I'll be born in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give it up for your 2017 PBA 50 Northern California Classic champion, Amleto Monacelli. Amleto with a few words. Amleto?
Yes, besides thanking everybody, all my fans, I would like to dedicate this tournament to my beautiful country of Venezuela. We're struggling with a lot of troubles over there. I'm sure some of you have heard. And I just dedicate this to all my friends, my family, and everyone for our freedom. So pray for us, please. Pray for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, our prayers, our positive vibes, the people of Venezuela, and our 2017 PBA 50 Northern California Classic champion, Amleto Monacelli.